bring it to light to you. I want to explain to you before we get out of here the difference between Old Testament animal sacrifice and Jesus' sacrifice on Calvary. Concerning the Old Testament animal sacrifice, the frequency meant it was repeated daily and annually. The frequency of what happened with Jesus once for all. The duration of what happened for the Old Testament animal sacrifice only was a temporary solution and only provided a covering for a time. The duration for Jesus' sacrifice on Calvary was eternal and obtained everlasting redemption. The efficacy or the effectiveness of the Old Testament animal sacrifice meant they could never take away sin or cleanse the conscience. But the efficacy of what Jesus did on Calvary, it takes away the sin and purifies the believer's conscience. The nature of what happened with Old Testament animal sacrifice means they offered the blood of bulls and goats. But the nature of Jesus' sacrifice, he offered his own sinless blood. The location of what happened with Old Testament animal sacrifice, they performed it in an earthly tabernacle or a temple or a worship place. The location of Jesus, he was offered the true heavenly sanctuary. He is the sanctuary in all of our hearts. The priest of the Old Testament animal sacrifice required a human high priest who also had to sacrifice, watch this, for his own sin. But the priest in what Jesus did, Jesus is the sinless high priest who did not need to offer his life for himself. And the access of the sacrifice in the Old Testament with animal sacrifice, access to God was restricted and only through a high priest. Can you imagine living a life where you cannot access God but only through the preacher? This was how it was in the dispensation of the law. When it comes to what Jesus did, Jesus opened direct access to God for all believers. The temple was torn. What does that mean? That means because of what Jesus did, he is the access and the way straight to God. Now you can go to God in prayer for yourself. You ought to say, thank God for Jesus.